You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
And hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of the Locked On Sports Atlanta. Grant McAuley with you after another Braves win, which is becoming just kind of a rite of passage at this point. As we barrel towards the All-Star break and Atlanta rolled into Tampa Bay to face one of the best teams in all of baseball, they didn't get a lot of hits, but they got just enough hits and just enough runs to beat the Tampa Bay Rays by a 2-1 score at Tropicana Field on Friday, beginning the weekend series to close out the first half of baseball. And what a first half it's been for the Atlanta Braves thus far. Got a lot to talk about on this episode of Locked On Braves and the postcast for Locked On Sports Atlanta, so make sure you're subscribed right here on YouTube. Click the bell to get notified every time we drop a new episode. Go ahead, hit the like button, tell a friend, leave us those comments. We appreciate all of those. And make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. As I mentioned, it was a very good game for the Atlanta Braves, and it was a quick one, and it was just enough offense. And it's kind of funny to say that considering what this offense is capable of, because there's always been just enough and then some, usually some left over. But you feel like this is a Braves club that can score early, can score often, can find the runs it needs late. Whatever the case is, well, they found the runs in the middle innings in this game, and they picked up a 2-1 win over Tampa Bay on a night where Tyler Glasnow was throwing well, but hey, so was Charlie Morton. Let's jump inside game number 87 of the season for the Braves as they improved to 59-28, 31 games over 500. That's the high water mark for this year. 2 runs on 2 hits. They came on 1 swing of the bat, no errors, 3 men left on base. It was Sean Murphy who came up with the big home run, the go-ahead blast for the Braves in the 4th inning that put them on top to stay. Tampa Bay got 1 run. It came in the 1st inning on a solo home run of their own. 6 hits, an error, 5 men left on base. That error, it proved pretty costly because it was committed right before the Sean Murphy homer. I'll get to that in a few. Rays are 57-34 now on the season as they take the loss, and this makes 6 straight losses for Tampa Bay as they're kind of struggling heading into the All-Star break. So maybe if you had to book a time for the Braves to see this Rays club, maybe now was the time because they have taken it on the chin, getting swept by the Phillies, and now dropping the opener to the Braves. Charlie Morton was terrific in this game. He's 9-6 on the year. I'll get into the particulars in a moment. Tyler Glasnow also threw well. He had to leave a little bit early with what looked like a cramp in his non-pitching hand. He was done after 5 2/3 innings. Just the one mistake to Sean Murphy, though it cost him 2-3 now on the year. And Raisel Iglesias lockdown save number 16. Time of game, 2 hours and 19 minutes. It was a brisk one, and 25,025 fans were on hand at Tropicana Field to see it. That was a sellout as they did have the upper deck closed. But as you might have heard on this broadcast, if you were tuning into it, there were a lot of Braves fans that were on hand at Tampa Bay to watch this one. And they got to see Charlie Morton spin a gem. 6 1/3 innings for him, 4 hits, an earned run, couple of walks, and 6 strikeouts. He gave up a home run in the 1st inning to Wander Franco, but I really thought that this was one of Charlie's best outings of the season. He did, get into just a little bit of trouble, and I guess in a 1-run game, a base runner is a little bit of trouble. It's kind of the old postseason adage of a runner equals a rally. The Braves weren't going to take any chances. Brian Snitker dipped into the bullpen. A.J. Minter came on, got out of that. Then in the 8th inning, Nick Anderson was able to take care of things there, setting up for Raisel Iglesias. But it was Morton who really, I felt like, against his old team, in a place that he had to be comfortable pitching against a lineup that still has a few people that were probably familiar with what Charlie's capable of. Well, they couldn't find the answers for him. Again, 6 strikeouts and pitching into the 7th inning. This is really, I think, kind of one of the underrated stories of the first half is that while Charlie Morton hasn't been able to go out there and just be a quality start machine like, say, Bryce Elder, he doesn't rack up the kind of strikeouts that Spencer Strider does. Very quietly, Charlie has cobbled together quite a nice first half. His 6 1/3 innings of 1-run ball in this one lower his ERA in the first half to 3.43, and he's got 111 strikeouts in 97 innings. As they say, that will certainly play, and he was able to keep the Rays off balance and pick up the strikeouts when he needed them in this one, and was able to pick up a victory to improve to 9-6 on the year. So if you're into the paces, as you very well know that I am, if you follow along on social media, I mean, you got Charlie in line for what, a 16-17 win season, 200-plus strikeouts again. That's a plateau he's very familiar with. And at this point, you're really kind of looking at Charlie as your 3rd or 4th starter because Max Fried may be back at some point in the not-too-distant future as well. But with Fried out, with Wright out, using Spencer Strider, Bryce Elder, and Charlie Morton, then kind of backfilling this rotation, I think Morton has held his own. And this was a night in which you were going up against a club that could certainly bash home runs with the best of them. One of the big things that the Rays do well, it's exactly what the Atlanta Braves do well. It's hit the long ball. They got one in the first inning, but that was all they got as Wander Franco got the solo home run to get things started. Sean Murphy found the answer, though, in the fourth inning. If we're looking for a player of the game, I mean, I think that Sean Murphy would certainly have a strong case there because not only did he have a go-ahead two-run homer that came in the fourth inning, but he was also, as we well know, a stolen base deterrent. He gunned down a couple of different Rays trying to steal bases. Just one more thing that Sean Murphy does well in what has become a career year for the Braves catcher. Home run number 16 of the year, though, that was the big hit in this game for the Braves. And again, there were only two of them. Matt Olson had the other one. It was a single that came a little bit later in the game, but right before Murphy came up in the fourth, he put one in play. The second baseman was on the run to his left, couldn't come up with it. It was charged an error to allow Olson to get on base. And then Sean Murphy sent a Tyler Glasnow pitch over the right field wall and sent the Braves to a 2-1 lead, and that was the final score in this game. As you look at Sean Murphy's season, though, he is starting to put up some numbers that not only are they all-star worthy, they're a career season and among the best in baseball for not only catchers, but all offensive players, if you really want to break down exactly how good Sean has been. 16 home runs. I mentioned this on Twitter. That's just 2 away from his career high set in 148 games last year with the Oakland Athletics. It would appear that Sean Murphy is going to be able to breeze by that in what has already been a career year for him. He's on track for 30-plus homers here in 2023 if he maintains his regular playing time. He's first among Major League Baseball catchers with those 16 home runs, and his 52 runs batted in, are second most among all catchers in Major League Baseball. I don't think that we're making a case about Sean Murphy being one of the best catchers in baseball. He has come out in 2023, and I think he has taken that mantle. And being the all-star starter for the National League, that's just a little bit of validation because these kind of nights for Sean Murphy, key home runs, key hits, using his arm to keep the running game at bay, and, of course, calling a nice game and receiving for this pitching staff, he's really checking all the boxes at this point. And it's been absolutely tremendous to watch Sean Murphy put it all together in a Braves uniform in his very first year in Atlanta, and he was a big part of the Braves win in this one. As you go back and look through the Braves offense, you're not going to find much other than the Olson single and the Murphy home run. I mean, this was an offense that had really rained down the strikeouts since the early portion of the month of June. A lot of folks kind of looked at the Braves, at least in probably April and May, and said this is a boomer bust offense. Too many strikeouts, that's going to be a problem for them. That has really not been a thing for the Braves since they turned the calendar to the month of June, went on that 21-4 run. They've taken it right on over into July, just continue their winning ways. 13 strikeouts in this game between Tyler Glasnow and Elvin Rodriguez, who came on out of the bullpen, looked terrific for the Rays. 3 1/3 hitless innings, no walks, and 5 strikeouts for Rodriguez. Toss that in with the 8 strikeouts for Glasnow, who at one point in the game struck out 6 consecutive Braves. That was just not something we've seen a lot of. In fact, for Atlanta, just the third time in the last 26 games, dating back over the last calendar month from June 7th to July 7th, that the Braves have struck out 10 or more times in a game. Again, it's just not something we're seeing too much. We're seeing a crazy amount of offense. The home runs are coming in bunches, the base hits, the clutch hits, the runners in scoring position, all of that. Check every one of those boxes for the Braves, and the strikeouts have more or less disappeared for this offense by and large. This was just a night where I think you do have to tip your cap to a couple of Rays pitchers who are extremely good and were extremely good on this particular night. And Glasnow, I think the Rays are going to need him to really step up and be a part of things that they're trying to do in the second half as they look to maintain their hold on the American League East and, of course, make that run through October. The Braves with that Sean Murphy home run, not only was that moving him closer to a new career high, but it set a Major League Baseball record for most home runs by a team prior to the All-Star break. 167 home runs now for the Braves. That is not a typo. There are some years we can look back on where over the entire course of 162, the Braves didn't hit 167 home runs. And it wasn't that long ago either. If you remember some of those lean years in that rebuild, but 167 bombs for the Braves, a new Major League record for the first half prior to the All-Star break. Still have 2 more games to go. They could add to that. We'll see how that all plays out. They surpassed the Minnesota Twins of 2019, and they were on their way to the Major League record for most home runs in a single season of 307. Again, done back in 2019. Atlanta's pace, if you're curious, and again, I'm all about the paces at this point. We're over halfway home, so we're not talking about a small sample size. Braves are on track for 311 home runs. That would be a new Major League record. When we look at all the reasons why the Braves are who they are, and this offense has shown us what it can be, the home run ball is a big part of that, and a major league record for home runs in a single season. That would be quite a nice feather in the cap of this Braves offense. This was also the Braves' first win since 2021, July 2nd to be precise, against the Miami Marlins, in which they had just 2 hits. They won that game 1-0 against Miami. They win this game against Tampa Bay by a 2-1 score. And Atlanta with the best record in all of baseball. The Rays in a bit of a slide have lost 6 in a row. So the Braves are going to close out the first half with that best record. So a lot of good things happened in the opener of this series. And the Braves are going to look to do as they always do. Aim to win a game, then win another one so that they can take a series and close out this first half on a high note. We'll talk a little bit about exactly what's going to be going on in Game 2, which happens on Saturday down in Tampa Bay. But I have to let you know, this episode is brought to you by eBay Motors, to remind you that a championship team is about finding each player being the perfect fit. And it's the same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head over to eBay Motors and look for that green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only, and of course, exclusions apply. The Braves, meanwhile, will be sending Spencer Strider, the All-Star, to the mound in Game 2 of the series on Saturday. The righty is 10-2. He has been pitching extremely well of late. I'll get into that in a second. Meanwhile, Taj Bradley is going to be on the mound for the Tampa Bay club. He's 5-4. His ERA is going in the other direction. 5.27 now on the season for Bradley, the 22-year-old righty who's going to be on the mound for Tampa Bay. Let's start, though, with Strider. He got into that little rough patch that we were talking about in early June. Rough outing against the Mets, a rough outing against the Detroit Tigers. Got bombed for, I believe, 5 total home runs over that 2-start stretch. In the 3 starts that have followed, Strider, 19 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 28 strikeouts. He has looked a lot more like Spencer Strider the last 3 times out, and he'll be looking for that kind of performance to help keep this Rays team at bay in Game 2 of the series. Taj Bradley on the other side, meanwhile, he has had a couple of rough starts against Arizona and Seattle. It kind of sounds like exactly what Spencer Strider was dealing with. He gave up 5 home runs in his last 7 1/3 innings and tagged for 12 earned runs overall in those last couple of starts. That took his ERA from the high 3s to up over 5. It's at 5.27 on the season. But a talented 22-year-old, the Rays are hoping for big things from him this year as well. And they are hoping that he's going to be able to match up with Spencer Strider as the Rays try to get back in this series. And they, of course, want to close out their first half on a high note by taking a series from the Atlanta Braves. So this is a pivotal game as Spencer Strider matches up with Taj Bradley. A battle of right-handers, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time is the first pitch from Tropicana Field as the Braves and the Rays will be looking to lock up again. And we'll see who's able to win this series and perhaps, move on into Sunday if you're the Atlanta Braves with a chance to sweep away what was the best team in baseball for much of the first half. That incredible win streak by Tampa Bay. They're kind of at the other end of the spectrum right now, so we'll see if Spencer Strider's up to the challenge and the Braves offense can break out for a few more than just 2 hits in the second game against Tampa Bay. That'll wrap things up here on the Braves Postcast. As always, appreciate you riding along. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta here on YouTube. Click the bell to get notified every time we drop a new episode. Go ahead, hit that like button while you're here. I'll be with you all weekend long. Jake Mastroianni's got some good stuff going on the home front. They're welcoming a new baby to the family, so we're excited for him. And we are, of course, excited to wrap up this first half and then get the band back together once we get on the other side of that. But some great stuff happening for him, so be sure to send your congratulations along. I know he and the wife would appreciate that. That'll wrap things up, though, on the Braves Postcast. Again, I appreciate you joining me on this evening. I look forward to keeping you company throughout the course of the rest of the weekend as the Braves and Rays close things out down in Tampa Bay. Once again, your final score in Game 1 of this 3-game series, 2-1. The Braves take it over the Rays. I'm Grant McAuley, and I'll catch you next time. And until then, so long, everyone.